Are you following the Springboks or the All Blacks? Stick around, I'll share my insights as these two giants of world rugby go toe to toe at Ellis Park. Hey everyone, it's Coach H here. You've found Inspired by Union, a channel where I discuss Southern Hemisphere rugby. Let's dive right in. Well, they say Saturday's a rugby day. Today it is Saturday. Whilst there's rugby going on in the NPC and the Currie Cups respectively, it's all about South Africa, the Springboks versus the All Blacks. For these two nations, they'll all be glued to their TVs as they watch these two sides. Their first clash since last year's Rugby World Cup final, where the South Africans prospered by a point. Let's start with the home side. Some mind games played earlier in the week as Coach Rassie didn't name Eben Etzebeth initially. However, after he got through training on the Monday and Tuesday, he was named in the side on the bench. It's a powerful front row with Nietzsche, Mbonambi and Malherbe named. These three come into their own at the set piece. Whilst in open play, they miss very few tackles. Du Toit and Nortje, they round out a superb tight five. They'll be tasked with winning their line-out ball and disrupting the All Blacks on their throw. In the back row, Kolisi, Wiese and Dixon, they're tasked with going up against a superb New Zealand back row of their own. Are we going to see Dixon and Kolisi station themselves out wide on the South Africans' attacking ball, as we saw employed during the June series against the Irish? Reinach and Feinberg and Ngomazulu, they wear the 9 and 10 jerseys and they're responsible to steer the side around the park. I like how the South Africans often protect Feinberg and Ngomazulu. Method to madness, they'll bring in perhaps a winger to first receiver that will allow Feinberg and Ngomazulu to get his hands on the ball on second or third phase. I'd like to see the All Blacks employ something similar. Bring in Jordie Barrett to take first phase ball, free Damian McKenzie up into a wider channel. De Allende and Kriel, destructive on both sides of the ball. Expect these two to carry hard over the game line. Arendse, Colby and Fussy, they're an exciting back three. They're given license to roam. On the bench, it's a line-out maul specialist, Malcolm Marx, that will come on and hook. He'll be joined by Steenkamp and Koch in the front row as the two props respectively. Etzebeth, Lowe and Quagga Smith, they round out the reserve forwards. Grant Williams, he'll join Handré Pollard as the final two reserves, covering all backline positions. What's the keys to victory for the South Africans? Dominance at set piece and executing their tackles in the middle of the field. Their forwards, they're allowed to station in between the two 15-metre lines. The props are trusted to make their tackles. If they can get their defensive line busy as they were against the Australians, it's going to be a long day at the office for the All Blacks. In terms of ball movement, I expect Feinberg and Ngomazulu to pull the strings from second and third phase ball. Expect variety in the South African sets, with the wingers coming in at first receiver position and feeding their two big midfielders in Allende and Kriel. That allows Ngomazulu to get his hands out slightly wider away from the forwards. The kicking game for the Springboks is going to be crucial. The All Blacks, they back themselves from counter, so the South Africans will be wanting to kick for territory or to get the ball into touch and back their line out to be disruptors. Let's take a look at the visitors, and the All Blacks have a surprisingly good record at Ellis Park in recent history. It's a big front row in Williams, Taylor and Lomax, and they'll be tasked with weathering the storm at Ellis Park early. The skipper, Scott Barrett, he returns and he partners Tupou Vaa'i, who was so good last outing against Argentina. An industrious back row of Blackadder, Sam Cane returning for his first start since last year's Rugby World Cup final, and Ardie Savea at the boot. TJ Perenara, his experience gets him the starting 9 jersey, and he partners once again Damian McKenzie. Barrett J and Ioane, they're the midfield that Razor Robertson's put his trust in this week to get the job done. On the wings, they've gone for variety, the power of Clark versus the finishing of Jordan, and at the back, the experienced custodian, Beauden Barrett. On the bench, the three front rowers are Olmore, Tuangafasi, and Newell. Sam Darry, after 3 quality first tests, he gets his first taste of rugby on the continent, while Sammy Penny-Finau, the All Blacks have brought a bigger body to finish this game. From the Chiefs, Ratima and Leonard Brown are joined by Blues man Mark Telea. That rounds out the All Blacks squad. So what are their keys to success? Well, the All Blacks, they have to get at least parity up front. If they fail to get across the gain line or recycle quick ball, it's going to be a long day at the office, and they're going to allow the South Africans to choke them out of this game. Their kick plans are going to be imperative. Against the Argentinians in the first match of the Rugby Championship, they kicked into no man's land and they allowed the Argentinians to carry back. Whilst the second game, they played into the conditions and forced the ball deep and out. They're going to have to employ a similar system this week, I believe, to negate the running threats of the South African back three. Set piece is going to be crucial for the men in black. Set piece is going to be crucial for the men in black. I really do rate their starting 8 that they've got this week. Where I feel the edge that the Springboks have is their reserves. I feel they're just a notch above what the All Blacks are going to be bringing on in the second half. So who am I going with for this first game of 2 matches on the continent? I was 6 when the All Blacks hosted the Springboks in '81 for that tour that was disrupted by the general public. So it's really since '92 that I've closely followed the South Africans. This squad of players, I believe, is the best South African squad I've seen that's been assembled. Yes, to me, the Springboks side that's selected for this week also does have an eye to the future. I'm expecting that the Springboks are going to get home in this one by 7. Well, let's hope that the rugby gods bless us with another quality encounter at the great Coliseum that's Ellis Park, a storied history between these two nations. I'm Coach H, and you've been watching Inspired by Union.